All right, so third question. This one comes from my friend Stuart Taylor in Valdosta, Georgia, who's actually Mickey's friend, my husband's friend, and my friend. And his question, I thought, was a good one. He said, is the book Revelationship more of a devotional where you dip into it a little every day, or something to be read in a few sittings? And so we can talk about that. I told him both. It's really basically both. And especially if you download the free devotional and study guide, then it can certainly be turned into something that you mull over and
I highly
savor
recommend doing that too. I think you'll get a lot out of the devotional guide.
We put a lot into the mindfulness questions and the exercises and the journal prompts and the prayer prompts. There's a lot of creativity in there to draw out relationship.
Yeah, some people don't want to journal
Right.
or do a workbook.
Right.
But if you don't have to sit down and fill the whole thing out in one sitting, you just work with it as God kind of leads you. And as you've read a chapter, go back to the workbook maybe and meditate on it. It'll seal the truths more to your heart if you spend a little time meditating on it. And that's the rush that we live today. We rush read through the scriptures when we need to slow down and meditate on the verses themselves and let God speak to us through them, that kind of thing.
Savor them.
Yes.
Savor them. Yeah. Taste and
so
see.
The question again was,
is the book Revelationship more of a devotional where you dip into it a little every day, or something to be read in a few sittings? It's kind of both, because I have had readers say that they've sat down, they couldn't put it down, they read it in 2 sittings.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a quick read in that sense. But in the other sense, if you don't just consume it, if you take a moment to savor it, then you can have these experiences for yourself.
You know, I'm not trying to compare it to the Bible, but you know, when you read through the Gospel of John, the first read through the Gospel of John it's quite simple. It's written in a way that anyone can read it. It's very apologetic. You know, it appeals to someone who's just saved. You know, that it really proves who Jesus is. And that's the intent, you know, right there. But then if you read through it, thinking through it, you suddenly realize there's some deep stuff here. You know, so reading through the Gospel of John slowly and, you know, digesting some of the things that are in there a little further, you know, can be very beneficial. So yes, you can sit down and read through the Gospel of John in one sitting, and there's an advantage to that because you get the whole of the book and the whole of the message. But then slowly reading through it and meditating on it has a way of really deepening it with you and helping then with relationship. And the thing is the same with our book. You know, I don't claim to have the kind of deep revelations that Scripture has, but we've learned a few things from Scripture. We've learned a few things about in our walk with God that we want to share.
Right.
So if you'll take time to think through them, then they'll speak to you.
Yes, and what is it? Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he highly suggested, he said a mature Christian can spend a month on a scripture verse. And I'm not quite there yet, personally.
Not either.
but a chapter is good, you know, or a section, a good
Yeah.
section, and I will chew on that and mull on it and allow other things to draw it back to my memory to reinforce it, and then it becomes more of my DNA than just to consume.
Yeah, I think Bonhoeffer was very mature, first of all, as a pastor, to have read the context as well.
Right.
So just unless you're reading Proverbs or something, it's not so much reading just one verse, but it is reading that verse within the context,
Right.
which I'm sure is probably something he would go on to explain.
Sure.
You're going to meditate on this verse, be sure to read the context
Right.
of the passage and the context of the book and the other books by that same author. So it's important, you know, to put it within all of those contexts as well. But I'm sure he would have said something about that too.
Yes, but I think in today's materialistic consumer America,
Yes.
where we go from book study to book study to book study with hardly even a breath in between, and lose the application of it.
But in one of the chapters that we write in Revelationship is how God hides from us.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not just the hurriness of life, that we're looking for that quick fix,
Right.
that quick verse that's going to speak to us deep within our heart in 30 seconds. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Sometimes we need to pursue him a little bit. And he loves to draw us, and he loves to hide a little bit, and then suddenly he reveals himself, and it's a profound revelation.
And your life has changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And he hides from us, which I think is a concept some people struggle with because they don't think of him as sometimes hiding. But it's not that he's hiding for any bad reason.
Right.
He does it for the very same reason that we hide from our children when we play hide and seek, because when they find us, there's great joy in the
Excitement,
discovery, and the joy is something that they can remember. I mean, my kids still remember when they find me in those places. And so if a person's devotional life has been going on and on and on for a very long time the same way, and they need to shake things up a bit, sometimes God will hide himself a little bit, and they have to dig in, and they have to pursue, and then it breaks upon them,
And people will do that. They'll go to the beach to try to renew themselves
Right.
for vacation, or they'll take a hike in the woods or something like that. And what they're doing is they're getting closer to God, because they're leaving the rush and pressures and stress of their day-to-day life, and they're actually taking a moment to step into God and to see what he's created for us and for our enjoyment and for our relaxation. And there's ways then to appreciate that. And I think when we were on the beach at night, of course, this was a wonderful, wonderful place that we would go, where
Right.
very few people were out there. It was after school had started.
All the lights were off because
all the lights are off because the
turtles.
turtles would come up on the beach, and you couldn't have the lights, which would be a distraction to them. And so all the lights were off, and there wasn't any of this lights from the city that
Right.
were disturbing you, and you could see the stars
The Milky Way.
in a profound way.
Yeah.
Not just the really bright ones that you can see through the light pollution, but you can actually see the whole
It was
Milky
extraordinary.
Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you look up and you see that, and you think, holy moly, this is something else.
That was the first time I'd ever seen it.
Yeah,
I
really.
mean, as a city girl growing up near the Atlanta airport, I was not impressed with the stars, the few twinkled.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, the handy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
take it or leave it. It's not that many. But then when I saw that, I was like, okay, wait a second here. This is new. I need to just lay here. We did. We kind of just lounged,
just kind of
looking
looked at
straight
the
up.
stars,
Yeah, we
at the
did.
Milky Way.
Yeah.
And we were appreciating a God who has profoundly made all of this for relationship with us.
The artistry was incredible.
Yes.
The vastness, the size of it was incredible.
And it
The
spoke to God's
sheer
nature in all
everything.
of those ways. Yeah,
Yeah, it was an amazing time.
yeah.